Start again. All right, welcome everyone. Now that I have my act together and we can get started, let me do these introductions again. It happens. So we are here with Coach Elle and Coach Val, and let me introduce them to you now. Coach Elle is a renowned expert in the realms of calling in the one, conscious uncoupling, and laser coaching. With these certifications in these powerful modalities, she specializes in helping individuals release limiting beliefs, process emotional blocks, and realign their energy to manifest soul enriching partnerships. Whether you're seeking your life partner or looking to up level an existing relationship, Elle's approach cuts straight to the heart. Through her work, you'll learn to embody radical self-acceptance, tune into your intuitive wisdom, and create lives and connections rooted in authenticity and love. Elle, it is so amazing to have you here. I'm going to let a couple more people in as I'm going through all this. And now let me introduce to you Coach Vallee Bunting. If you don't know Val, you need to. She is a Spitfire full of energy and compassion for those around her. She is a relationship coach specializing in dynamics related to people recovering from partnership breakdown or hoping to manifest happy, healthy love. She's focused on communities of color. Vallee established Essential Connections coaching in 2021, where she has counseled many heart-centered people on healing painful relationship patterns, and as a certified conscious uncoupling and calling in the one coach. Vallee's goal is to help others discard limiting beliefs by reaffirming their worthiness to receive love and learning to envision a happier story of relationships moving forward. Ladies, welcome to the stage. I am so excited for today. We are going to be talking about 7 essential steps that we can really use to find the things that we're looking for in our life. And I just think it's amazing the way you bring all of this together and that you're going to share so much with us today. Thank you, ladies, both for being here. Coach Elle, I'm going to start with you. I'll let you start and get us rolling.
Thank you so much, Bree. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's amazing how our intentions works for us throughout our life and actually everyday life. So I can start the 7 step with looking at the first step that we work with clients. The first step is preparing for love. And then this step is mostly looking at it's a foundation of the 7-week program. And how we look at it is looking to see, first of all, what your needs are in a relationship. A lot of people who come to me, they know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. So we start with this foundation of understanding what your needs are in a relationship. Do you want someone who is honest, who is uh, there for you, who is can communicate well? I mean, all the needs that you think you want to have in a relationship, we ask you to write it down, think about it. A lot of people come and then we ask them, do you know what your feelings are? Do you feel your feelings? Can you talk about your feelings? Can you say that I feel angry? I feel happy? I mean, name your feelings and see how does it feel in your body? So these are the 2 first steps to understand, because it's a foundation of understanding and preparing for the love that you want to bring to your life. Then there's 3 principles that we want everybody to understand, to look at before we start our sessions. The principle 1 is understanding your power to create the love that you want. Number 2 is we are the source, understanding that we are the source of our own experience in love. And wherever we are centered in consciousness is where we generating our relationships. So going through these principles, then we ask you to look at your intention. Let's create an intention now that you know what your needs are in a relationship for a future happy, healthy love. What is your intention? I have few that I can read for you from my past clients. One said that my intention is to manifest my ideal partner, someone who shares my values and goals. Together, we inspire each other to grow and thrive personally as a couple and as a couple. The other person said, my intention is to manifest my ideal life partner, someone who is kind, communicative, real, and caring, has a fantastic sense of humor, and always up for adventure and exploring new places together. So I invite you to think about it. What is your intention in bringing the healthy, happy love to your life? And you can think about it, you can write it down, and that's the first key. That's the first step that we work with to get to that space. Number two is, let me see.
I want to just stop everybody for a second. If you want to share what your intention is, put it in the chat, but I invite you to write that down. And if you are in a relationship and you're looking to make it stronger and more powerful and better for yourself, then put that as your intention. What do you want to manifest? How do you want this relationship to grow and prosper and build upon what you already have? So whatever situation you're in right now, and I invite you to share that in the chat. Let us know if you want, or you can write it down. It can be something private. We totally understand that as well. But share that if you'd like in the chat. We would love to see that. And keep that intention in mind as we go through the rest of this, through what Elle is saying and also what Coach Val is saying. That's all I want to share.
Yeah, thank you, Brie. Yes, perfect. So looking at step two, which is completing your past. So we go understanding what is the inner obstacle for you that has been stopping you to creating that loving interaction with your ideal partner. So the questions that we invite you to answer is to explore resentment that you have been carrying. What is the recurring in those resentments from the past that you're thinking about all the time? See what can you take the responsibility of creating any dynamics in a relationship that is not maybe the 2% on your side? I understand that you will say, oh, there is 100% or 90% of the other person's fault. But what is your percentage in this interaction or in interactions of the past? So we explore what are the verbal or non-verbal or agreements, all the agreements that you had that is still kind of holding you back to bringing that love and ideal partner to your life. Can you see any way in which you have been giving your power away in that relationship of the past or where you are today? So it's deep conversations, it's understanding what has been happening inside of you. And when we go step by step through these answering these questions, we look at what emotions comes up. What is it that you feel in your body? And we go beyond that and understand who we are today based on those past experiences. So the next one is understanding the step three is healing core wounds. And it's all about those false life identity, the core beliefs that has happened in the past. We call it limiting beliefs today, which can be something that has happened in the interaction when you were very young as a child. And we really look deep into that. A lot of people come to me and to us, me and Val, and they talk about, I'm not good enough to have a relationship that I want. What is that? Then we look at what is that pain, that the disappointment that you feel in your body. What is that disappointment in your childhood that you're carrying with you till today? Um, so for example, and then we look at it in three different part of it. Like, uh, what do you feel today? And what is it that the life is come bringing to you? Like, for example, I'm all alone. I'm not worthy. I'm not wanted. What did I make this disappointment mean about my relationship with others? It's very important to look at that. And then we look at how old is that part of you in this story. For example, the younger self is around 2 or 3 or 10, but these feelings has been staying with you in your body and actually ruling your interaction with the people around you, not just in relationships of the loved ones, but in your business, in any kind of relationship. So we do explore what is the limiting belief from those childhood wounds that has been going around, and it has been making you feel this way and interact with people in that space. There is one other thing that I want to, okay. For example, I say, I'm always alone. Nobody loves me and life is hard. So we look at it and three different aspects of it. I am always alone. Everybody is happier than I am, and life is hard. So this is one of the examples that we look at. And then we go deeper into understanding why you have these limiting beliefs. And we look at it as an interaction with those people from the time that it was you were 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years old. And we bring you back to the today, the older self. And the interaction between the younger and the older self makes it open for you to understand where you are today. It's a very deep conversation. It may take, sometimes we spend 2 sessions. Val, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 or 3 sessions with this step 3, because we go deeper and see where it came from and how it has kind of happened in your body, and you still feel it, but it's very unconscious. So we bring it to the consciousness and we look at it, and we look at it as an older person, an accomplished person as you are today. And this will, remedy that younger self that has been uh, feeling that limiting beliefs of the past, that I'm alone, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, everybody leaves me. So I give you an example. I always give an example of me uh, because it's easier to talk about that, and I'm okay with share with you guys. So when I was 6, my grandmother, who was my primary caregiver, left. I'm originally from Iran. So he left Iran, moved to US without telling me. And this has been part of my limiting belief that everybody leaves me. Whoever I love, they will leave me. So my interactions with people has been very limited because I would never open myself up to receive, because I was always in that space that everybody leaves me and I'm not good enough and life is hard. I have to work so hard to get to where I want to get. So this is what has been my limiting belief. But today, whenever I go to that space, which I still do, but the span of the time that I get from that 6-year-old to the 60-year-old It's 5 minutes now. It's not 5 days. It's not 4 days. It's not a month. It's kind of has been uh, compressed to 5 minutes, 2 minutes, because I ask myself this question: is this interaction? It can be anything. Is it bringing you back to that 6 year old? Is that where you are? I asked that question. And then when I understand that I went back because of the stuff that happened to me in the past, I bring myself back to today right away. And we go through the exercise. We teach you how to bring yourself back to today, to be conscious about that interaction and knowing that you're not that 4, 3, 5 years old anymore, and you have the power. That's why we come up with the power statement. You have the power to be in this loving interaction with yourself and others. And then we asked you to write a power statement for today, who you are today. Val, would you like to add anything to this?
Um, I think that what I would like to do, because I saw somebody in the chat ask for the 7 steps. Uh, we'll put that in the chat for you so that you can follow along with what we're talking about. And I think Elle is describing kind of the major essence of what the premise is of the coaching practices that both she and I have been trained in. Some of you may know that we are devotees of Catherine Woodward Thomas. She is a New York Times best-selling author and also a licensed marriage and family therapist. And she authored the books Conscious Uncoupling and Calling in the One, 7 weeks to attracting the love of your life. The steps that we are going to be talking to you about today, and thank you, Bree, for putting the link in the chat. The steps that we're going to be talking to you today, are basically the manifestation of the book that was just put into the chat. I would probably encourage folks, if you want to get a better sense of what some of the concepts are behind the steps that we're going to be discussing, buy that book. It is something I can verify that it changes lives. It's changed my life. And so the first 3 steps that Elle just went through are the examination of who you are within, that concept of self as source. How are we co-creating the dynamics of the relationships that we've been involved with, and what has really triggered the way that we show up in the world? And so a lot of the conversation that we would be having in those first 3 steps are looking at the false love identities that we all have. I'm going to back up for just a second. I'd like to introduce myself a little more thoroughly. And thank you so much, Bree. I'm so happy to be here today, and I'm so happy to be with Elle. Yay! This is wonderful. Oh,
Yes. You know what, Val? We forgot how we met and all that stuff, but maybe
well,
we can at the end. Yes, I'm sorry. I jumped into
you're
the
so excited. You jumped right into the steps.
yeah.
you know, uh, so I basically started to look at this issue around relationships. I am a recent retiree from the federal government. I worked for 30 years for the Federal Emergency Management Agency in the US here, Department of Homeland Security. And I have been able to kind of cobble together after a number of years, a fairly dynamic professional relationship. I've been able to do a lot of activities on a national scale, deal with the highest levels of the federal government. I currently live in the DC area. And so, you know, a lot of interaction with folks in the White House and Congress and, all these different entities around the things that happen in emergency management. The one area of my life that has always, really been a heartache for me, though, is the fact that I never was able to get married. I never married. I do not have children. And I always question, what is it about me that really eluded me in terms of creating intimate relationships with men? You know, and why did I not attract the kind of relationship that I would have thought would have been able to, you know, be at this point in my life? I thought in my timetable in my younger years, I would be having grandchildren by now. Right now, I just have a dog that's barking out in my backyard. So, so excuse me if I go on mute every so often. That's why. Um, but the other thing that was really a passion for me is that as an African American woman, I'm also part of a population that is the most unmarried population. You know, has the lowest rates of marriage. According to a 2022 census data report, African Americans are the most unmarried people. And in that report, it revealed that 48% of African American women have never been married. That is huge, you know, and I am part of that population. And that has fueled my passion to really look at some of the dynamics around why is that? You know, what are some of the dynamics in our community that may have really kind of fostered, you know, the lack of connection between men and women in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to go into, socioeconomic or, other dynamics, around the whole issue of that particular situation. However, I know that I feel like I am part of that. So when COVID hit in 2020, I was turning 60 years old. I was also 2 years out from really deciding my retirement date from the federal government. I decided to go ahead and um, and really look at tackling this issue once and for all. I was determined I'm going to find out what is the basis of this. The looking at that led me to the work of Catherine Woodward Thomas, and that's also how Elle and I met. You know, Annabeth, I think Elle said that you also are familiar with Catherine's work and you've been in some of her classes. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do that work. I haven't done the calling in the one or the conscious uncoupling. I did a different program that she
Yeah.
did here. Yeah.
Yeah, she does a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the premise around the work that Catherine proposes is really looking at ourselves and really what is the dynamic within us? What is that original heartbreak that has really informed how we form an identity around love and interpersonal relationships? What is that has encouraged us to really, kind of, and Elle just mentioned this, especially in the step 3 process. What is that has really formed that inner child kind of dynamic that still rules the day in many cases? I know that now in my early 60s, I have to fight back my inner child basically every day around various conditions. So, so, so that's what we're talking about, in the conversations that we want to have with you today. And that what we're outlining in these 7 steps, and we will be putting again those 7 steps in. I will start with step 4 in just a second, but I do have a couple of questions of the group that's here, just to see if you also have some feedback on a couple of things. I know a couple of folks have mentioned that you do have partners. And as Bree mentioned, if there are things that you're just trying to do in terms of updating your relationship or connecting better, would like to know about that. But do many of you or any of you feel that the experience of heartbreak that you've had in the past really prevents you from feeling confident about looking for love in the future? And if you just want to raise your hand, through the Zoom, or if you want to just put in the chat, yes or no, that is fine. That would be great.
I think that a lot of people personally, I just want to throw in there, I think it really messes with our trust issue, right? We don't trust,
Right.
we either don't trust the partner, and it could be the partner could have done nothing. It's from a past experience, or we don't trust ourselves
Mm-hmm.
many times for are we, is this the right thing? I don't trust my own instincts or my own feelings on that.
Exactly, exactly. Trust is a primary component of that. And then also recognizing that the other person in this equation comes with their own wounds, their own,
Mm.
false identities that become part of that dynamic that people have trouble with. So yeah, so that is a key point, Bree. Thank you for bringing that up. So why don't I go ahead and get started on talking about step 4, and that's setting your course.
Okay, Val,
And
sorry, I just put the 3 steps in the chat, 1, 2,
okay,
and 3. I'm going to put 4 as you're going to talk about it for sure.
okay. So setting your course is really looking at how you the 3 steps that Elle talked about before. We're looking at kind of um the internal dilemmas that we kind of face within ourselves in terms of how we, communicate with relationships, how we show up in relationships. What are those things within us that influences our patterns in relationships? Step 4 is now starting to look at a generative future. Can we envision a future of love that we really know that we deserve within our lives? And how do we get there? How do we get there? How do we start to begin to create that relationship of your dreams? By deepening into that vision of love fulfilled. In this particular step, what we start to talk about is, what are you willing to release? In step 3, you really talk about a lot of the dynamics that you have with yourself, your relationship with your inner child, how you're going to be mentoring that inner child to you know kind of um, start to shift centers into that more powerful dynamic version of yourself as an adult. So within that process, what are you willing to release? In my case, when I went through this exercise, I had to release self-deprecating talk. I had to release the fact that I deprecated myself, that I had to release over functioning and over giving. You know, I had a tendency to overgive in my relationships to try to make sure that the person that I was trying to attract or that was currently there stayed. And one of the things that you discover is that if you are not being authentic to yourself at the beginning of a relationship, you're doomed to failure. One of the things that, had always been a pattern for me is that I did overgive. I did not set boundaries. And the very thing that I thought would attract love, in fact, repelled it, each and every time. So we talk about what are those kinds of things that you think that you're willing to give up, in step 4, but what are you willing to embrace in instead? You know, you need to, in step 4, you start to identify, I'm willing to embrace that I'm a truly authentic and deserving person. You know, I'm embracing that for myself. I, you know, I embrace that I deserve the right to set boundaries and live in my authenticity. You know, I deserve the right to be able to, say no to people and feel okay with that. I deserve that, or that is the way that I want to start embracing. Those are the qualities that I want to embrace. So we go through that kind of examination. On the release side, we do a ceremony in which we will have you take whatever you talked about releasing and either balling it up in a piece of paper, you can burn it, in your trash, you can throw it away, you can tear it up, but that's released. All of that negativity is released into the ether, into the universe, because we are focused on embracing a new future. Then in step 4, we start to talk about how we're envisioning, and a lot of people feel weird about visioning a new person that you really start to pretend that that person is in your space, you know. So when we do this visioning exercise, we ask you to really, and a lot of the conversations we have during these steps, um, is going to be taking you through somatic exercises. They may be meditative things, somatic things that which we're asking you to, kind of dig down into your body. Where are you feeling some of the sensations? And we're going to ask you to envision that your beloved is there right now. What do you want from him or her? What are you saying? When he comes in the door, at night, or when you come in the door, are you stepping into a house where he's cooked you dinner? I mean, we go through a very detailed, kind of exercise so that you start to somatically align with the fact that you can be in this beautiful, you know, synchronized relationship with someone, the essence of someone. So that is, a very important thing, because what we're trying to do is start to identify with the person in the future that we're hoping to become, so that we can start to lift our vibrational frequency to live in that space. So that's step 4. Step 5, first things first. So how many of us have a tendency to to think about, wow, I really have some, I'm really kind of heavy, my thighs are really big, I'm really hippie, I'm overweight, you know, you know, I don't look like a Coke bottle model, you know, I have some concerns about my ability to attract someone, you know, I have emotional baggage that feels like it's impeding my ability to see myself in an objective way. I know I do. I know thank you. I am sexy. I love you. There you go, girl. That's right. Dad blasted. Yeah. But a lot of people, in the program that both Elle and I went through, we had the opportunity to do a lot of coaching with people, especially women, and had the opportunity to talk to women around the world. There were very similar circumstances, very similar things that came up in a lot of the practicum coaching sessions that I did. I've coached, at this point, almost 20 people through that process. There are people from the UK, from Australia, from the United States. To a T, most women talked about not feeling that they have the physical appearance to be able to attract the love of their life. If you're older, everything in the relationship is my fault because, I'm kind of the person that is absorbing the onus of taking responsibility for the relationship. So I am not, I'm the person that's falling short. You know, um, Number 3, there's been a lot of sexual abuse, physical abuse. People have difficulty getting past that. Step 5 is kind of looking at the issue of how are we deepening into self-love until you love yourself. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but until you're really able to kind of break those things down, it's difficult to then look at receiving love from someone else. And so in step 5, we're looking at how do we do that? How do we take responsibility for loving ourselves? And so, in this step, we're talking about getting clear on commitments that we expect to receive from a partner, identifying what those commitments are, identifying what our needs are. A lot of people, myself included in a lot of ways, did not have any clear kind of definition about what our needs and wants were. In this particular step, we will introduce you to a practice, what we call the self-love power practice. And that is when you are feeling a sense of overwhelm around, some of the things that we talk about, because some of it is tender, some of the conversations are tender. And in the coaching practice that we've been taught in, we are going to have interactive discussions and we're going to challenge some assumptions. We're going to talk to you about some things that we see. And in some cases, that leads to a little bit of overwhelm. And in that case, we give you a tool so that you are able to then kind of self-soothe to understand what you need and what you want, what you're feeling and what you want. And so in in such a case, we will take you through an exercise in which we will ask you to sit back in your chair, close your eyes, take deep breaths, tune into who that person is, that, that inner you. What are the sensations that you're feeling? And ask yourself, sweetheart, what do you need? Excuse me, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? And we're going to wait for the answer to emerge from your body. And as you identify what you're feeling, I am here. We are here to stand in partnership with you, but this is really a way for you to acknowledge your own sense of what you feel. And then we could do a similar exercise in terms of what you need. What do you need? Like a lot of times, I may say, I'm feeling sad. And then I would say to myself, I can see that you're feeling sad. What else do you need? You know, I'm feeling disappointed. I can see that you're feeling disappointed. In this need side, what do you need? I need understanding. You know, I can see that you need understanding. And we'll talk you through that process so that you start to develop a better sense of clearly identifying what you're feeling and what you're needing. And we provide you tools to be able to get there also. So it's a powerful exercise. It's something that also that can be used at any time whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, regardless of the circumstances. You know, it's not just in romantic relationships and it's in any circumstance with, it can be used when you're overwhelmed at work, if you're having issues with a sibling, or whatever the case may be. So that's some of the things that we'd go over in step 5. Step 6, a life worth living. And that's generating a greater sense of happiness by really starting to identify what future we're trying to align with. What is the future that we're trying to set? Elle talked a little bit earlier about setting intentions. We talk a lot about setting intentions, the intentions that we need. When you start this process, the intentions that you start with may be radically different from the intentions that you end with, because you will have gone through a process in which you are starting to look at what is the most primary thing in terms of creating a new relationship with yourself, others, and life. And what that means is that the person that you're first calling in is yourself. You're first calling in yourself.
Yeah.
So I know that the book says 7 weeks to attracting the love of your life. That's not something that we can promise. Frankly, I'm still waiting for him to knock on my door when he walk through my door. However, I can say that, but I feel much more aligned. Thank you. Thank you, Auntie Destiny. Exactly. Yeah, but I feel much more aligned, and I feel like I walk in a different way in the world, that someday will be able to attract the beloved that I know is out there waiting for me. And so,
But
go
can I
ahead.
add something to this?
Mhm, mhm,
When we have operated from that younger self for 40, 50, 60 years, it's going to take some time to be able to get all those deep emotions, and especially in your body, to come out, and we can recognize it based on the exercise as Vallee talked about a few minutes ago. It's amazing how that exercise changes the way that you interact with yourself, first of all,
mhm.
and with other people. And that's what I was talking about. It's going to take, if it took you 5 days or a month to get over that interaction in the past, with this exercise, it's going to take you a few minutes, because you bring yourself right back to today instead of being in that 5-year-old body that you have been operating for the past 40 some years, or depending how old you are today. So it's amazing how by going inside and seeing exactly where you have been and where you are today, you can bring yourself back in a space of being conscious of your emotions and who you are today. And this is a brilliant, amazing exercise that, as Val said, I do it today for myself too, because incidents happens. We go back to that 5 or 6 year old continuously, and it's amazing. So go ahead, Val.
And it is an amazing exercise. But through the course of the 7 steps that I'm talking about, we're going to take you through a number of exercises that will reveal more and more of this inner light that you have within yourself, and also provide tools for you to be able to self-soothe yourself, in various circumstances. And that, coupled with the exercises in the book, because there's a lot of exercises in each of the chapters, these 7 steps, that will help to also reveal a lot. It's a lot of journaling. There are exercises in the book that encourage you to do some physical things, like if you are looking for the one, making space in your house, clearing away some clutter so that you make space for that person that you want. Being able to do meditative practices. What are some self-care things that you need to do to make yourself kind of the center of this equation, and to not dim your light in terms of seeking that which you know you deserve? That is a lot of the key that we are going to be, kind of talking about. Let me go through the last step, step 7, living love fulfilled. And that is when we graduate to you becoming unstoppable on your quest for love. Yay. you know, um, in that step, we celebrate your gains. We celebrate, the growth that you've shown throughout the entire process through these 7 steps, and how you might be responding differently, to the obstacles that may have hindered you in the past. We're going to be asking you, well, what meaning are you making of the fact that you've been, engaging with someone who suddenly ghosted? Does that meeting automatically revert back to a sense of your own self-worth? You know, I would often, in my own experience, when something like that would happen to me, and I would be involved with someone who would then, either decide that the relationship wasn't for them. My situation was always I would be dating someone, and then the next person that this guy met would be the person that they married. So I was always the one who was left even before the altar and didn't even make it to the altar. you know, because the next person would be, but what I made that mean about myself is that I was not valuable. I was not valuable in this equation. I was not worthy of love. And so when those obstacles occur by step 7, it's hopeful that you will be able to recognize, number one, that has no bearing on the true value that you have in terms of generating and accepting the love that you know that is out there. Because all you need is one person. You don't, all you need is one. And so that's one thing. And then it's also helping you, being able to celebrate the fact that if someone has kind of stepped away from you, then it's a celebration because you're that much closer to finding the person that you really are going to be with. That's okay. It's their loss, because you are, a beautiful, powerful being within yourself to be able to generate the love that you want. So those are the 7 steps. And I know that it's kind of hard without being able to, if you have not read the book, to kind of understand the premise. But those are the things that both Elle and I work with our clients on, in terms of getting through that process. By the end, being able to have people that are much stronger in terms of their sense of self-awareness and in their belief in the fact that they are worthy of all of the love and the um, that's not only there for them in the future, but recognizing that we're all surrounded by a force field of love. We have our families, we have other friends, we have other people, and recognizing that there is always um, a value to the life that we're living now and how we want to now extend that into a future of love fulfilled for all of us. So, any questions? Or Bree, you have any, or Elle, do you have anything else you want to say to this?
I just want to say that we are all in the same space. We can manifest happy, healthy love by going deep, understanding who we are, and opening ourselves up to new possibilities of love. There is a sentence that I learned from Catherine. I'm here to love and to be loved. And every time that I'm in that space of negativeness, I will kind of remember that sentence. And it says, it's true. I'm here to love and be loved. So if I'm here, let's open our hearts and bring love back to our lives and look at it as today of where we are, not from our past.
That's beautiful. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to end the recording right here because I want to make questions available for you guys where you feel a little more comfortable and it's not being recorded. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a hindrance. So I'm going to end the recording. So thanks so much for watching this, and we'll talk. We'll be with you next time on another one of these amazing workshops with Elle and Val. Thank you so much for attending.